And it'd be true to say most premillennial and all dispensational premillennial views see a necessary role for the state of Israel in the end times. But other views would see it differently to that. They see the establishment of the political nation of Israel as a fulfillment of Old Testament prophecies to re-establish Israel in the Promised Land. The view doesn't distinguish clearly between the secular state of Israel, the Jewish people, and Judaism. But again, I'm just doing broad brushstrokes here to give you a bit of an overview. There are lots of different views within each of these four views. We can probably take that off now, Joe. Thanks for that. From my personal perspective, I hold this stuff pretty loosely. My personal view is that Jesus is coming back, and I'm really pleased about that. And I'm not convinced that anybody fully understands how it's going to work. It does seem to me, not from Revelation so much, but from reading Romans, that God does have a future plan for the Jewish people. Romans chapter 11 seems to indicate that somehow in conjunction with Jesus' return, there will be a turning to him by a whole lot of Jewish people. But I don't think that the timing of that is clear, and the level at which the political state of Israel is involved in that is also not clear in the Bible, in my view. I want to say that you can hold any of these four views and be a Christian and be a fully important part of life at Citywide. And in the Baptist system and through the history of the church, there have been wonderful people used by God who have held any of those four views. I want to warn a little about, for those of you who hold the dispensational view or the premillennial view, it can lead to an unquestioning support for the political nation of Israel, and doesn't give space to critique that nation when they act in ways that are clearly against God's justice, mercy, and compassion. The Old Testament was clear. The prophets, whenever the nation of Israel went against the glory of God, the prophets would turn up and say, "What are you doing?" And any view that doesn't allow us to differentiate between the state of Israel and what God's up to, it can be problematic. We live in an increasingly polarized time that doesn't cope well with nuance. There are people who see Jewish people as evil. That is a blatant form of racism. And we've got the label anti-Semitism for that. On the other hand, it is important to be able to acknowledge that the state of Israel does things that are wrong. All states do. That's simply the truth. Truth is always the standard that followers of Jesus need to uphold, and truth is complicated. There just was no excuse for the horrific terror attack that happened on October 6th last year, or October 7th our time. There is only one word for that was evil. But it is also tragic and deeply concerning that the BBC report that Israel has since killed 42,000 people in response to that attack. Both those statements are true. And any temptation to want to walk away from and oversimplify things is a dangerous temptation in my view. What's clear is the exact order of events in the end times isn't clear. I don't think the relationship between the church and Israel is crystal clear. in the New Testament. And the role of Israel in the end times is also, in my view, not crystal clear. I'm not saying, for me, I'm not at a point where I can say, this is exactly how it's going to be. Your view on how the end times unfold is not the most important thing.